how close does this put Riggs' opponent to actually getting the seat?
I think it makes it somewhat likely that he could because the deadline was short for people coming in and curing their ballots, and it doesn't take that many ballots, just over 700, to be excluded, in the right direction for him to become the next Supreme Court justice. And so, I think it's a very difficult task for Democrats and the Riggs campaign to try to reach out to all 60,000 voters and get them to respond and deal with their ballot issues um, in the time period. But I think what's going to happen is she's going to appeal it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, these votes are haven't been shown to be illegal in any way.
No. And that's not really the claim that the um, campaign is making about the ballots. They just didn't follow the rules so that they have the documentation, social security number, or driver's license number attached to their ballot. Either they registered before that was required or something happened in the registration process. So, um, his campaign is not saying these people are illegal voters. They should not be allowed to vote at all. It's just putting the burden of proof on them to show that they are have met all the qualifications.
So this, and I'm trying to refresh my memory. This rule that would require that information, that was done after probably many of them registered and had already voted.
After they registered, for sure, so they all voted. If we go back in time just a little bit, there was an attempt to disqualify over 200,000 voters by the Griffin campaign and the state Republican Party, and the judge disallowed that before the election. And then after the election, this lawsuit was filed claiming that 60,000 plus voters did not meet the qualifications for proving citizenship, which is why we put the driver's license number or the social security number, attached that to the registration. So, it's been an effort on the part of the Griffin campaign and the Republicans to strictly enforce current law. And again, for many of the 60,000 plus voters, they've been registered so long that they've not been required to attach that proof of U.S. citizenship.
And so these voters had no idea that they well, they didn't do anything wrong, but they just went to vote like they normally vote all the
Yeah.
time.
And I mean, it's a wide range of people, even legislative assistants who work at the General Assembly were caught up in this. And so, there's no, you know, it, these folks just voted as they have in previous elections. And then they received notification that their ballots were being considered by the Griffin campaign in a lawsuit. And so I'm sure it came as an amazing surprise to these voters that their vote's going to count for all elections except for the Griffin Riggs election, which is still being contested.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Why are their votes good for any of the elections that happened that day?
Yeah, because state law says that once the election is certified, then we can't go back and change it. And so that sort of general law that applies to all elections, we didn't certify this election, and so therefore that's why the lawsuit can still go forward with these 60,000 plus voters being contested. So for an outsider or someone who doesn't follow this closely, this seems like complete inside baseball,
Mhm.
where there's just discussions of things that the average person who votes every 2 to 4 years simply doesn't follow.
Yeah. How blatant would you? That's another thing for people who, because on the outside looking in, you're thinking, oh, well, there was something wrong with their ballots. They didn't do something right. What's the big deal? But how blatant is this a power grab? I mean, just literally overturning the winner and giving it to the person who did not win.
I'll say this is unprecedented in modern North Carolina political history that there has not been a legal attempt to disqualify voters um, after election results have gone through the process. Now, remember, it's not only been tabulated, but retabulated, recounts have been done. So again, I can't recall any time in my memory where someone has tried to take votes out of the election results after the fact. And so if whether that's called a power grab or as Republicans call this, simply enforcing existing law, it's just never happened before like this in North Carolina. And so if it does play out that Griffin does win the seat, this is what you're going to hear for the next really until the 2026 elections, that Republicans stole a Supreme Court seat. Republicans will counter and saying all we're doing is following laws that were duly passed and signed by the governor. So, they're already using this in the 2026 campaign in terms of fundraising. Democrats are raising money off this, saying, Riggs's seat is being stolen, and Republicans are raising money off of it, saying, Democrats are not following the law. And so we've gotten to the point in elections where legal contests become part of the campaigns themselves.